In this video, you're going to create and run your very first Node.js script. Now we're going to keep it simple for the moment. This is actually the last video in this little getting set up section. In the next section, which starts in the next video, we'll move on to explore Node in detail, and we'll start to build out meaningful applications. For now, the goal is to just give us a place to even put our code, and we're going to figure out how to run our scripts. Let's go ahead and kick things off by actually closing down the terminal. The terminal, or the command prompt on Windows, is not something we're going to use throughout the rest of the class. Instead, I will be using the integrated terminal built right into Visual Studio Code, so we don't have to switch between windows. I'm going to close that down, and let's just get a bit organized. On the left-hand side, I'm going to put the browser. That's where this will stay for the rest of the class. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to put Visual Studio Code. Now the goal is to give us a place to put all of the files and folders we'll end up creating for our projects throughout the class. Right here, I'm going to expand the tree view, and you'll notice that there is no folder open. So let's go ahead and create one, and then we'll open it. I'll be using the File Explorer for my operating system, which is the Finder, to create a new directory. And you could put that directory wherever you wanted to. I'm going to put mine right on the desktop. So right here on the desktop, I'll be creating a new folder, and I'm going to call this something like node-course perfect. This is the location where we're going to put all of the stuff we write in this course. And this is the folder we're going to open up in Visual Studio Code. I'm going to shut down the Finder and open up that directory. Right here, on the desktop, I have my Node course folder, which I'll double click. This is going to open up that directory in Visual Studio Code, which I can see based off of the window title and the folder title over here. Now we can actually add files and folders to this directory to build out our projects. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to keep things pretty simple in this video. We're going to have a one-line script just to make sure everything is working correctly. So let's go ahead and create it. Right here in the Node course folder, I'm going to create a brand new file, and we can call this whatever we like. I'm going to call it something like hello.js. Remember, Node.js isn't a programming language. In the end of the day, all the code we write is JavaScript code. So right here, I'm using a .js extension exactly like I would if I was creating JavaScript files that I intended to run in the browser. As the first and only line in this file, we're going to use console.log to print a message to anyone who runs the script. So right here, we'll be accessing the console object. We'll be using the log method on there, calling it as a function and passing in a single argument right here. That is the string, something like welcome to the class. Now you should be familiar with all of this since the basics of JavaScript are indeed a prereq for this class. And there we go. We now have a simple Node script. Now you might say, hey, this really isn't a Node script. This is a regular old JavaScript script. But it's important to note that console.log, it's not actually part of the JavaScript programming language. This is always part of the runtime, whether that comes from a browser like Chrome or Node.js. So there's no better time than now to show you where the Node docs live. Over at nodejs.org, we have this docs page up top. On the left-hand side, I have two API pages for the two versions shown on the homepage. I'll click on mine. Then down below, I have a long list of different modules we can work with. This one, the one that we just used, is called console. I'm going to expand that, and what do we get? We get all sorts of different ways we can use console, and down the list, we do have the one that we just used, console.log. So the documentation for Node is a great way to get comfortable with the features, and we'll be referring to it a lot throughout the rest of the class. Right here, though, we can see that console.log is something provided by Node, and if I click that, it brings us down to some examples as to how we can use it. Now let's go ahead and actually run our script to see our little message print to the screen, then we'll be done with this video. As I mentioned, we are going to use the integrated terminal throughout this class. It makes it really easy to run terminal commands from right inside of Visual Studio Code, and you can find it by going up to the terminal menu and clicking New Terminal. Also, take a moment to note the keyboard shortcut. I'm a huge fan of keyboard shortcuts, so for me on a Mac, it is Control-tilde. I can just type that from anywhere to crack open a new terminal, and here I have it. Now we're already navigated to the correct location. Here I'm running commands from inside of the Node course folder, and you should see that as well. And what we're going to do is use that node command once again. Now, in the past, we had used node just like this to run individual statements. When we have a script we want to execute, we use space, and then we provide that script name. So right here, node space hello.js, matching up with the file name we created. Now we can actually execute this little node application by hitting enter to run it. And what do I get? I get my message, welcome to the class printing, and this is fantastic. That's where we're going to stop for this one. We now have a place to put our projects and our project files, and we know how to run Node scripts. So we're done with this video and we're done with this section. In the next section, we're going to dive in and start to learn how to use Node.js to build out backend and server-side applications. I am beyond excited to get to it, so let's go ahead and jump into the section introduction for the next one.